And welcome back. In a Facebook live stream, protest organized said today it would be Orange Shirt Day and said that they would observe a moment of silence on Parliament Hill. Protesters have co-opted the Every Child Matters slogan and urged a worldwide walkout for the kids. We should note a walkout did not appear to have happened today. Every Child Matters is used to support Orange Shirt Day, which is actually on September 30th to commemorate the harmful legacy of Canada's residential school system. And some Indigenous leaders are calling out the different treatment of the Convoy protests by governments and police, asking the question if this was a grassroots Indigenous protest, would demonstrations have been shut down quickly? Here to weigh in on this is Assembly of First Nations National Chief RoseAnne Archibald. Chief Archibald, nice to see you. Welcome to Power Play. What was your reaction today when you heard about the protesters' plan to make today on Parliament Hill, in that sort of chaos, Orange Shirt Day?
It's not acceptable to take a symbol like the orange shirt and Orange Shirt Day, or even the Every Child Matters slogan or saying, and apply it to the situation. That I stand, first of all, with Phyllis Wobstead, who is the creator of the Orange Shirt Day and the orange shirt, and her denouncement of this. It's a real affront, insult, and so disturbing that survivors, intergenerational trauma survivors, and especially the little ones who did not make it out of those institutions of assimilation and genocide. It's really unbelievable that they would think that they could attach the horrors of these institutions to their protests. They're two separate matters altogether, and it's really inappropriate for them to co-opt Orange Shirt Day or even Every Child Matters to what they're doing. In fact, when you think about what they're doing, I saw a photo of children being used in a blockade somewhere near the bridge, one of the bridges, I believe. And, if those were Indigenous children, I can guarantee you that the children aid societies would have been down there in 5 minutes. The police would have apprehended those children and put them into care immediately. But that's not happening with these non-Indigenous protesters. It shows what we have been saying all along, that Canada, the illusion that is Canada, that Canada is this friendly, great country, that's false. It's not true. And how can we get to reconciliation when we can't even embrace the truth of the double standards in this country, the inequality, injustice?
And I do want to address that, and I'm happy you're here, because I've thought about that. What about sort of the political support and the police's support for this convoy? Because back in February 2020, protesters in support of Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs blocked CN rail lines in parts of the country. At the time, Erin O'Toole said if elected prime minister, he would introduce legislation to make blocking major railways, highways, and bridges a criminal offense. So what do you make? You talked about a double standard. So what do you make of that compared to the support that this convoy by those same, many conservative MPs today?
Look at the footage of Wet'suwet'en. Those are violent arrests. Look at the footage of Tyendinaga when the police were there to arrest those land protectors, those land defenders, those water defenders. Look at Oka. Look at Dudley George. Look at all of these situations of how police respond to First Nations. It's very clear, and you asked the question at the beginning, Joyce, does this show a double standards? Yes, of course. It's so obvious to everybody that Canada's racial divide and how they treat Indigenous First Nations people in this country is not the same as how they are treating these non-Indigenous protesters. The system is rigged against us. It's not we aren't respected in the same way when we are engaging in our own kinds of actions, political actions. And I'm really glad that this is being shown to the rest of Canada. I think it's important for all of our allies out there, and I know we have a lot of them, to look at this and say, hey, this is wrong. Canada isn't the place that we think it is. And what are we going to do about it? That's what we really need to start talking about, is what our allies need to do in terms of getting this country moving forward on what I'm calling healing path forward. And it's really dependent on the silent people who are not saying anything to begin to stand up and say, this is wrong, and we have to make this country better.
Yes, and the world is watching, and the world is watching. Assembly of First Nations National Chief RoseAnne Archibald, thanks for making the time to talk to us. Have a very nice weekend.
Thank you, Joyce. Take care.